Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to The Bunker. As many of you know, I'm in the habit of speaking to fellow former Jehovah's Witnesses, and I am quite intrigued to revisit past interviews, past conversations. One such past conversation happened 6 years ago with a friend of mine named Brett Griffin-Young, and I am delighted to welcome Brett back to the channel. Hello, Brett.
Hi, Lloyd. How are you?
I'm not bad at all. A bit of water under the bridge in 6 years since August 2015.
Just a bit, just a little bit, yeah. And as we mentioned earlier, the world has certainly changed since then. And I just want to say this up front. I am recovering from COVID myself. I'm fine. I'm much better. I just still have a very croaky voice, and I might have a little bit of a cough. I've got my pint of orange squash ready to go. So yeah.
To my knowledge, I've managed to evade said plague, which, as we know, is part of the sign of the last days. Stephen very helpfully explained that to us. Mm-hmm. So I'm very fortunate to not know what it's like to have this thing in your body. Has it been very unpleasant for you?
So I've had it twice because I don't do things by halves. So I had it right at the start of the pandemic. And so I had the alpha variant, and that was not pleasant. I mean, I had a week of just being really, really sick. The worst for me was always in my chest. I was just coughed terribly. This time around, I'm double vaccinated, so it actually felt a lot less intense. It was really just the cough that was so irritating and kept me up most of the night and caused me to lose my voice and have a sore throat. But other than that, it was perfectly manageable with paracetamol and ibuprofen. It was quite interesting, actually. So I don't know if it's the King of the North that released the virus as part of the final days or what, but clearly Jehovah still wants me around because I'm still alive.
You're still with us, hopefully. Brilliant. And you also have a larger family from when I last saw you. So you now have three children. Yeah.
I do, yeah. We had a little boy born last summer in Dallas, Texas through a surrogate again. Frederick, so he's just turned a year now and he's just started walking. So that's a real game changer. So I've got the three kids, Sebastian, who is 11 coming up on 12, Georgiana, who's 8 coming up on 9, and Frederick, who's just turned a year. So it's a full house.
Wonderful. I don't mind saying I think that your interview in particular, as kind of one of my formative interviews when my channel was still fairly young and I was still kind of finding my voice as a creator and as an interviewer, I think your interview was very, very important from the point of view of introducing the LGBTQ plus element of activism, because I can remember at the time my mindset was, I want to be an ally, but at the same time, I recognize that this is more than simply about Jehovah's Witnesses. This encompasses Christian fundamentalism in general. Do you feel as though the LGBTQ plus side of the argument is being heard more now in 2021 than it was in perhaps 2015?
I think it is, yeah. Certainly in the Western world, if you're in Afghanistan right now, it's not a particularly pleasant place for the LGBTQ+. But yes, I certainly think in the West, things are gradually moving in the right direction. There's still a lot of issues for gay and trans people, even in a country like England, where I still feel apprehensive to show any form of public display of affection towards my husband. So we're holding hands, just a brief touch on the back sort of thing, because that immediately targets you as a gay couple. And we just had in the press again another couple being beaten up in London, in a hospital sort of thing. So there's still a lot to learn. There's still a lot to learn about it. And it's interesting having children, because I think you speak to any gay parent, once you have kids, there's no being in the closet. There's no hiding. I was very good at, and most gay people are very good at being able to go about their business without anybody actually knowing that you're gay unless you want them to. But having kids is a game changer. I mean, my son will tell everybody. It's just a very matter of fact for him. So we were at the supermarket and he'll strike up a conversation with the checkout lady and say, "This is my daddy. I've got 2 daddies. They're gay." And to him, that's the most normal thing, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But you do that whole brace yourself. What's the reaction going to be? And yeah, I think it's interest in having kids as a gay couple, for sure. I wouldn't change that. I think it's the most amazing thing in the world. But it certainly does change your behaviors. You have to just literally own your sexuality there and then. There's no hiding.
In terms of your own healing and recovery, I mean, you very clearly and eloquently spelled out your journey and your ex-Jehovah's Witness story in the original interview, and I would encourage viewers to go back and watch it, just to avoid you needing to repeat yourself. But in terms of your kind of journey of healing and recovery, do you feel you're further along? Do you feel you have been able to put the cult more in the background over the last 6 years?
Yeah, I definitely think I have. Every year you distance yourself more and more. I don't get butterflies in my stomach now when I see JWs on the street or if they knock on my door. I don't have that sort of sight of, oh God, how do I deal with this situation? I'm a lot more relaxed about it now, and I'm a lot more upfront, and I don't really care. So yes, I do think it's a lot better than it was 6 years ago. I think 6 years when I spoke, and certainly that was the first time I'd ever spoken on camera around my experiences as a teenager. That was cathartic as well as it was emotional. I felt quite emotional after that interview. So thinking, gosh, I got a lot of feedback, a lot of messages on Facebook and stuff, because you put my name in my full name and it's easy to find on Facebook and Instagram and so on. That I got messages from other Jehovah's Witnesses some were still in the religion, messaging saying, thank you for that. It resonated with me. So I'm very pleased I did it. And I do feel that I have moved on. It's a time in my life, I suppose, where I've buried it in some way, sort of almost. And at one point in my life, I really felt bitter and angry about what I'd missed out on. My teenage years, they sucked. There's no other way to describe it. They really did. It was awful. And if you watch the interview, you'll know why. And at one stage, I was angry about that. I mean, I was angry that I missed out on 18th birthdays and 21st birthdays and, stuff that I now can do with my children. And I think that has been a huge part of my, dare I say, healing, is having kids of my own and actually embracing that and really being so positive about them and explaining to them how I don't care whether they're gay or straight or who they marry or who they love. I just want them to be good people. Everything that I didn't have growing up, I'm making sure that my kids get. And I think that has helped me tremendously.
That's been effectively part of your catharsis, is making sure that your children don't go through the same thing you went through.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And in the 6 years since our interview, I don't know whether you've noticed, I don't know to what extent you keep tabs on what's happening in the wacky world of Watchtower, but there has
it's
been...
unrecognizable to me. It truly is. Like every time I watch one of your videos, I'm like, what the hell? Where did this come from? I mean, this is just...
It is becoming almost a caricature now, and worlds apart from what we experienced when we were in the religion. But in the 6 years since we spoke, there's obviously been quite a lot of anti-LGBTQ plus propaganda put out by the organization. I'm thinking, even a Caleb and Sophia cartoon. You have convention dramatizations depicting allies of the LGBTQ plus community as angry and intolerant. So, what's it been like to see the organization really double down through its propaganda?
Amusing because I think to myself, they're worried. That's why they're doing it. And I think a lot of people sat in that audience who have secular jobs, who do work with gay people, who know gay people in some shape or form, probably looking at that kind of going, oh, that's not quite how it is in the real world. Because I remember feeling that at times when I sat through the assemblies and at meetings and stuff. And when I think back to actually, the Young People Ask book and the youth book and that sort of stuff, that was blatantly homophobic and against homosexuality and made it out to be the most disgusting thing you could possibly partake in. So I'm not surprised they're just using a different media to try and sell their rhetoric against the LGBTQ community and certainly those who are allies. That comes as no surprise, but I do find it quite amusing. I really do. I mean, the Sophia and Caleb cartoons are they're cringeworthy. They're absolutely cringeworthy. The whole JW broadcasting thing, I think, is it's just so wow. It's televangelism It's like really bad from the 70s style. It's just, I don't know. It's amusing.
Yeah, I have to pinch myself sometimes at how much they're basically doing my work for me by giving me so much stuff to comment on. I would not be able to make nearly as many videos if not for, the amount of material they're putting out. But one particular piece of material, in fact, I isolated it as being the worst video they put out last year, was, I don't know whether you saw it, Stephen Lett taking to the stage at the 2020 convention and suggesting that God might resurrect gay people with their homosexuality so that they would have to deal with it all over again and potentially have the Grim Reaper following them round in paradise. This is not something that apparently...
waiting for them for 1,000 years, waiting for them to accidentally get tight trousers. And wow, I did not get to hear about that one.
Oh, but I've spared you then. I've spared you because, and it's a good thing.
That one's all kinds of special, isn't it?
Yeah. That he posited that because obviously the whole idea of being resurrected in paradise is that you are resurrected into a, quote, perfect body. And of course, homosexuality is supposed to be an abomination. And yet he floated this idea. He must have just come up with this new light that when... Sorry?
I was going to say, I've got two comments on this then. First and foremost, isn't the wage of sin pays death? So surely if you're resurrected, you've paid for those sins. Why would you be cursed with that sin again? That would be my number one. And number two, what about the non-practicing, which just cracks me up, non-practicing gays and lesbians within the congregation who survive Armageddon? Do they have another 1,000 years of gayness hanging over them?
Well, apparently,
if they do.
I mean, if you can be resurrected with gayness, then presumably there's not, this is something that you're going to have to battle with forever. Yeah.
It'll immediately alienate and concern all of those gay Jehovah's Witnesses who are sitting there going, well, what's the bloody point? If that's my future. I remember a disabled sister in our congregation who was clearly a lesbian, but she had broken her back in a motorbike accident. She used to race motocross, and she was paralyzed from the chest down, and they all lived in hope of, as soon as Armageddon came, she'd be able to walk again. So if these afflictions are not going to be cured at Armageddon, you have to wait for another 1,000 years.
Yeah. Wow. And it also, on the plus side, though, it seems that there's scope for a gay community in paradise because he invoked a scripture in, I think, Isaiah that said they'd be given 100 years to, I guess, pray the gay away. So that's 100 years to establish some kind of gay community in paradise.
Well, I mean, that's the best way to cure your homosexuality, to put all the gays together in a paradise. That's just every element of it is perfect. That's definitely the way.
At least there's going to be somewhere on Paradise Earth that's fun, basically.
Absolutely. I tell you what, that'll be where the party's at.
So yeah, it's been getting all sorts of strange.
They don't do anything. They can still be gay, can't they? They just can't act upon it, right? So they can still throw the best parties ever.
What do you say to people who make that argument? Because that was the argument that I routinely heard as a Jehovah's Witness, and you still hear it, occasionally when speaking to apologists of Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, it's not that we hate gay people; it's the sin that we hate. Yeah. So all we're asking is that gay people don't act on their desires. What do you say to that?
You're putting me in the spot to come up with an answer to that. I haven't had that question for the longest time. How would I respond to that now? I would be more along the lines of, well, that what is considered to be the sin is a fundamental part of your personality. And that was one of the things that always frustrated me so much when I knew that I was gay, was that I knew that I could never act upon my feelings. I could never, and I'm not even talking about sex here. I'm talking just about being my own true self. I couldn't go, oh, he's really handsome to somebody else, because that would immediately go, oh, he's a practicing homosexual, out. So it's a fundamental part of you. So how do you, if you're going to hate the gayness, well, then you're hating me because I am gay. And I know that's hard for a Jehovah's Witness and many fundamental Christians to understand, but, my response was always, well, how did you know you were straight? What is it about you that made you straight? When did you wake up and go, I'm straight? You didn't. I never woke up one day and went, I am gay. I always knew. I remember being 3 or 4 years old and feeling more attracted to men or to boys than girls. I like to play with girls, but I like to be close to boys. And right through my burgeoning adolescence and everything that was going on hormonally in my body, everything was, I was gay. And there was nothing I could do about this. But trying to get that across to somebody who thinks it is something that can be prayed away is very difficult. There's actually a fascinating documentary on Netflix at the moment called Pray Away. I'm halfway through it about exactly this, the Exodus program in the United States that was introduced. It's a hard one, Lloyd. It's that cognitive distance, isn't it? You can't crack through their way of thinking. So how do I even begin to say hating the sin and not the sinner is a ridiculous thing to say?
Well, the good news is that I don't think a lot of people who say this sort of thing have really thought it through themselves. It's just one of those things where they hear it and they think, oh, that's like a good throwaway response to make when I'm confronted with this issue. I actually recently got into an exchange with an unbaptized publisher who actually called into the channel, and we had like a live stream debate, and she raised this, and I said, well, presumably you're straight. So how would you feel if someone said to you, it's okay having these heterosexual feelings, you're just not allowed to act on them for the rest of your life. So you're not allowed to get into any relationships, any heterosexual relationships with anyone else. And unfortunately, I think the point went right over her head, but it's just trying to appeal to some kind of empathy and compassion,
And that's the really hard part. I've got one of my closest, dearest friends who was, has dumped me because he's a Jehovah's Witness, still married. He's on LinkedIn and we message each other very occasionally. He usually comes back with a bit of a lecture, and along those very lines of, Jehovah still loves you. He just hates your homosexuality. And it's just like, oh, Christ, are we going around this again? And that's where I say it's really hard to get that through. And as you've just given that example, straight over her head. It's not something they want to think about. It's easier to do that rhetoric of hate the sin of the sinner. It makes them feel good. Or they still love you. I still love you. I just hate what you are.
In terms of shunning, how are things kind of now versus 6 years ago? Is it the same situation in terms of family members shunning you?
I'm completely shunned by the Jehovah's Witness family, which is quite hilarious given they're all a bunch of adulterine, they're all carrying on divorces and affairs and all manner of things, but that's all okay because Jehovah can forgive all that. He just cannot forgive the homosexuality. And what really makes me laugh is I've been in a committed relationship with my husband for 20 years. It's 21 years next February. So 20 and a half years we've been together and 3 kids. And, we don't sacrifice goats to Satan on the weekend. We're just an average family. We just happen to be 2 men. That's it. And as far as a model family is concerned, well, if it wasn't just for the genders, it would be a model family for the Jehovah's Witnesses. It absolutely would.
Yeah. So I can't quite remember all the details now, but it's your parents, is it, who are shunning you?
Well, no, my parents weren't. My parents stopped. My father stopped actually going to meetings when I was 15. When I got found out with that young brother in the congregation, Derek, he's actually passed away, I found out recently. That was when my father lost his faith. But he never told me that at the time. He never said that. He just stopped going to the meetings. But he still pushed me to go to Bethel, still pushed me to pioneer, to be the good little Jehovah's Witness boy. My mother kind of dipped her toe in and out all the time. They were both baptized, but they never really reached out for anything. They did the bare minimum. So it wasn't really them that shunned me. I mean, I had a difficult relationship with my father for many years when he found out I was gay, but I don't think that was, well, he knew I was gay when I confirmed I was gay. I don't think that was based on the Jehovah's Witness. I think that was just based on his own personal feelings towards gays. that is so very different now. He is so very close to me. We have a wonderful relationship. It's completely different to the way it was when I first came out. My mother was the first to ask me. She said, "Are you a homosexual?" I said, "Yes." And she was okay with that. And she met my husband. She passed away in 2016. She met my husband. She loved him to bits. She got to meet my firstborn son before she died. She was absolutely fine. It's her extended family. So it's the aunts and uncles and cousins and so on that have nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing.
Now, presumably, I don't know what it's like for you, but with me personally, the more water flows under the bridge, I think it's kind of like a survival mechanism that you just become numb to those old relationships, and they mean less and less to you over time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, they're completely meaningless to me now. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was with my mother's passing. She had breast cancer. She died. None of her sisters, she's got two younger sisters and a young brother, none of them made any attempt to reach out to her before she died. They didn't come to the funeral. They weren't interested in what was going on. And to me, that was really the final, well, I just don't want you in my life anymore in any shape or form. So more fool you, because actually I'm happy for you to shun me. I don't want you in my life. One of my cousins, who is not in, she never got baptized. We're still in touch and we still communicate. She lives in the Canary Islands, but I haven't seen her since we were young teenagers. Just distance and time, and family's been splintered and shattered by the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's the way it is. It's indeed interesting for my husband, I think, because he had this really close, or he still has a very close-knit family. And it was so alien in his mind that my aunts and uncles would have nothing to do. His aunts adore him. They've from birth, they've been a part of his life. Christmases and birthdays and weekends at home. And to him, it's just so alien. So alien. To me, it's like, yeah, that's the way it is.
And to what extent has it been kind of challenging for your husband to, wrap his head around, the unique, I'm going to say, damage that is inflicted on someone by being in a group like Jehovah's Witnesses? Has it required, quite some patience, maybe some conversations to help him get his head around things?
Yeah, it hasn't required patience. I think he's just... He's absolutely gobsmacked by it all. Not so much now, because 20 years in, he knows the whole deal. But certainly in the early days, I think he thought I was making it up. I think he thought it was like, no, this is just too absurd, because it's just so very foreign in his mind. But as he's actually got to know my family, he's like, oh, okay, no, this is batshit crazy stuff. It didn't require patience. It required me trying to convince him that I wasn't exaggerating or that I wasn't making things up. That's how it was and how it is. Really, really interesting for him. Really interesting. Now it only comes up when you want to talk to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm the one who keeps taking you back down memory lane.
Yeah, it's
probably.
Fine. It's fine. Yeah. No, I mean, from I don't spend day to day thinking about being an ex-Jehovah's Witness. That has become so distant from, what I am now. To be fair, half my life I've been free of the Jehovah's Witnesses. So I feel liberated from it now. I don't feel any fear or concern around it. As I said, I don't get those butterflies in my stomach when they knock. I actually hope they do, so I can have a bit of fun with them. It's a bit cruel sometimes, because there's like this really sweet lady in a mobility scooter who hangs around the local Sainsbury's with her magazines, and I'm dying to let her rip. But she's in her late 60s, she's disabled, and you just sort of think, I can't do this to her. I want some nice young, sprightly pioneers to come knock on my door. That's what I'm after. Someone I can really have fun with. Invite them in and then drop the bomb.
Well, actually, I'm glad that you've told me that, because I'm sure will be immensely, I'm going to use a JW word now, gratifying, happifying for my viewers to see that level of healing is possible, because bear in mind that some people who watch my videos and stumble on my channel, they're right in the early days when it's all very raw and it's all very painful. And so to be able to, watch you and see you speak of it all being so distant and having moved on emotionally from it all is actually perfect for like a happily ever after story,
It's the same as when you come out, right, as being gay. There's a saying in the gay community that is, it gets better, right? Come out, it'll be okay. It gets better, and it does get better. The hold that the Jehovah's Witnesses have on you is so strong, so very strong. I think in my previous interview with you, I spoke about this, but when I was traveling abroad for the first time, I committed a homosexual act. So I knew that when it gets found out, I'm toast, right? Because I was in Bethel and I'd quietly left and I was going to go into the missionary work. And in between Bethel and missionary work, I got into a hot tub with a young man and one thing led to another, and there you go. But I remember still praying fervently to Jehovah, just saying, please let me see some of the world before you kill me. And I had that hanging over me for the longest time. And in fact, it was September 11th that really pushed me over the edge. It was a case of when that happened, I thought, oh my God, this is the start of Armageddon. And then my non-JW side of the brain was going, that'd be ridiculous. This is just a terrorist attack. And the JW side was going, run for the hills. Should I go back to the congregation now? That forced me to really evaluate why I felt that way. So for me, September 11th is a huge turning point for me, huge, because that was and maybe the pandemic will be the same for some Jehovah's Witnesses now. That was the sort of almost cataclysmic event that I thought, God, this is it. This is the start of Armageddon. This is the attack. And, here we go. 20 years later, I'm a completely different person, completely. And it does get better. It gets easier. In the early days, I used to do a lot of research online. After September 11th, I did a lot because I actually also wanted to discount. I didn't want to. It happened as an aside, to discount the Bible as well, because I kind of thought, if the Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong and they're based on the Bible, then surely the Bible must be wrong. And the more I read and the more I began to understand, the more I realized this is a book written by superstitious goat herders who thought the world was flat.
Yeah.
And once that penny drops, once you have that aha moment of that immediately causes the foundations to fall out from underneath all of those sorts of religions, all of them. Which is why I find it really interesting when you have Jehovah's Witnesses who leave the JWs and go into another form of fundamental Christianity, because it's like, well, it's the same package. It's the same deal. It's just a different package. For me, I just went, that's it. It was I remember the moment of having a real aha moment of like, oh my God, wow, it's just done.
Yeah.
And then I could really heal and move on from that.
Well, it's obvious that you really have healed. And again, it will be a really encouraging, I'm sure, story for viewers, particularly those who didn't get to watch the earlier interview, because obviously so many years have gone under the bridge. And, hopefully this will encourage a few people to watch your interview anew. So I apologize in advance if you get inundated with more people who discover you for the first time.
I don't mind. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'm more than happy to be a voice of reason or a voice of anything, really, if anybody who wants to have a conversation within reason now.
You've already shared a number of very uplifting thoughts, but, just to kind of wrap up, if anyone's watching this video as a Jehovah's Witness, particularly those who are starting to doubt their beliefs and maybe struggling with this whole issue of being made to hate themselves for being gay or transgender, what would be your advice to them?
My advice would be to seek some support and help from outside of the organization, which is in direct contradiction to what the organization would say. But the reality is the organization does not have your best interests at heart. They really do not. It will destroy you if you let it. So don't let that happen. Get some help quietly. You don't have to tell anybody else. Do it on the side. Also, don't be afraid to do your own research. The organization was always very clear on there be dragons, there be demons out there if you dare click on a link or read a book. Or don't be afraid to do that, because if your faith in Jehovah is that strong, then you have nothing to worry about. Read it and then see what you think. but get some advice and support from outside the organization. There's a lot available through various gay support lines that you can phone. Unfortunately, if I'd have thought of this ahead, I would have brought some with me, but certainly speak to people outside of the organization and don't be afraid to do that, because they do have your best interest at heart. This is not going to go away. This is part of you. You can try whatever you like. It's not going to go away.
Indeed. And I'm going to, now that you've mentioned it, make sure there is a bit of information in the description below for people to look into these resources. So thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, Brett, it's been an absolute thrill catching up with you again. Again, I'm so thrilled to see how healed you are and how positive you are. I'm sure, going to be extremely uplifting for my viewers. So thank you.
You're welcome. Let's not leave it 6 years till the next one.
No, we need to come around and visit, don't we?
You do need to come around and visit. We've had an extension built as well, so we have extra bedrooms now.
We will use those, at least one of those bedrooms, maybe two.
You'd be most welcome.
So viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this catch-up conversation. I know I have. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Evans channel for more such videos. And as always, thank you for watching.